Lately, I've been wondering something. Are we actually living adulthood or we're just performing it? Because sometimes it feels like many people are quietly overwhelmed while publicly maintaining the image that everything is fine. The career, the relationships, the confidence, the certainty. And honestly, I think many of us have become so focused on appearing functional that we rarely stop to ask if our lives actually feel aligned internally. Over the last few weeks, especially after reflecting deeply on my life, I've started realizing that overwhelm is not always about doing too much. Sometimes it is lack of synergy. Too many disconnected habits, too many competing expectations, too many versions of yourself trying to exist at the same time. So today I want to talk about the exhaustion of performing adulthood and how we can start living more intentionally, honestly, and in alignment with the life that we actually want.
In her 40s, she's rising high. Daniamite Experience, touching the sky. Beautiful, fearless, her time is now. Lift up your voice, let the world shout loud. In her 40s.
Hello, beautiful people. It's your girl TD. Welcome back to my podcast, In Her 40s, Unleashing the Daniamite Experience. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're what would I say now, a continuous fan, thank you for following us. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and thank you for making this journey very interesting. Welcome back. So you can see me, yes. And this is my salad dressing. Yes, that's why I say let me do salad dressing edition for you guys. We're in the spirit of celebrating Salah, and in case you don't know, these are like our own Christmas. So yeah, we'll be having fun. The good thing is by the time I post this video, the ram would have finished, so nobody can harass me for ram. But hi guys, welcome. So as usual, I'm sure you'll be saying this girl is always thinking and wondering and thinking. But what I've realized is this entire journey is actually about thinking. Because if you're not thinking often enough, then you're not even aware of what you need to change or what you need to adjust. So a lot more thinking is happening for me in this period. And this is coming from someone who is naturally an overthinker. So yeah, you can imagine how even I am like, So I don't know if it's necessarily thinking more, but it's more in terms of thinking deeper and thinking intentionally. So now I'm asking myself more pointed questions, not just thinking about random things, other people's problems and all those kind of stuff. It's more internal. And I'm asking myself, what's happening? What am I doing with it? How am I doing this? Can I do it differently? So I guess all that reflection has just brought me to the conclusion that a lot of us are performing adulthood. And it's not intentional, but it's just how we've been brought up. More often than not, the expectations, the responsibilities, and code that we've carried from being kids have stayed with us, even in adulthood. Some of us are in maybe careers that other people chose for us. Some of us are living lives that other people defined for us, whether society, family background, or whatever the case may be, or what we think we should do, quote unquote, without necessarily stopping to ask ourselves, is this what I want or is this working for me? So, in all that, trying to figure it out, I think it's important to always pause and ask yourself, is this the life that I want? Or is this a life that I've outgrown? Because sometimes it's not even about whether it's the life that you want. It might just be that you've outgrown this particular life or you've outgrown this particular phase. So somewhere along the line, adulthood started feeling like a performance, like I said. People are exhausted, but they're still posting motivational quotes. They're still posting, oh, I'm doing just fine, confused, but pretending to be certain. A lot of people are struggling emotionally, but still trying to maintain the image that everything is under control. And honestly, I think many adults are carrying invisible pressure quietly. And I would always say, especially in this part of the world, and the truth is, I can only compare with what I know. So, yes, I might have friends and family in other parts of the world, but the reality is, I'm here. So, I can only express how tough it's been in the last few months. But everybody just keeps going and everybody just keeps carrying their responsibilities. It's like the cross you have to bear, so to speak, and just pushing on and just plowing on. Like we're being squeezed from every corner, but we just keep showing up and sometimes pretending that we're fine because more often than not, we're afraid to break down. More often than not, you don't even know how to ask for help because maybe a lot of people around you are also struggling. So you're not even sure who to ask for help. Because sometimes even that person that you think is doing all right is also struggling, but they're just not expressing it like you are not. So it's really it's tough. And I think part of the problem is that we inherited very rigid ideas about what adulthood should look like. By a certain age, you should have clarity, stability, direction, confidence. But real life is more layered than that. People are evolving, rebuilding, changing careers, questioning things, healing, trying again. And many people are doing all this while still trying to look put together. And I think that's where sometimes we struggle because none of us really have the luxury to pause our everyday lives in the process of healing or growing. All those things have to happen while you're still dealing with everyday realities, while you're still dealing with expectations, responsibilities, whether career wise, professionally, personal lives, and all those things. And if you're an African, you know that you don't have responsibility just to yourself, whether you're single or married. You have responsibility to your family, either your parents, your siblings, cousins, family members. We live in a communal environment. So sometimes that pressure can get too much. And more often than not, if you seem to be doing okay, sometimes people don't even ask if you're okay. They just assume that you're okay because people just assume that as long as you're able to pay your bills, you are doing well without focusing on other aspects of your life that might not necessarily be going the way you want or might not be going in the direction that you had planned. So it can be tough. And social media has also made adulthood feel more performative because we're constantly exposed to curated versions of people's lives. People are posting the good parts of their lives when they're traveling, when they go for dinner, maybe when they go to the spa, vacations, and all those kind of stuff. So sometimes we're comparing our lives with theirs and wondering, what am I not doing well? Or how come they're getting to live this life? But you'll be amazed. That's why we say it's performative, because some people will go on one holiday and take so many pictures and they'll just post it for the next 6 months. And you'll feel like, this person is traveling like every other month, not realizing that it's just one trip. They were just able to get a lot of maybe content, pictures, videos, or whatever from it. And they now just posted that over a period of time. So there's a lot of performance that is happening because we're all just trying to give the impression that we're doing okay. And unfortunately, there's the saying of your put your best foot forward. Nobody wants to put their difficult moments on social media. So most people are putting their fun moments when they're having a good time with friends and family and whatnot, but you don't see the behind the scenes. And I think that so many people feel the pressure not just to live, but to appear successful while living. So it's hard enough that you're trying to figure life out. But then you also have this illusion of a responsibility that you have to look okay while doing it, even if you're not okay. And honestly, the performance is emotionally exhausting. And I think that's why sometimes it's harder for certain people to make the changes that they need to make because they're so focused on keeping up appearances and they're so focused on trying to maintain the facade, so to speak, because you're that strong person or you're that person that is doing good. So imagine now telling people like, oh, I'm not doing good. Oh. Like I'm struggling. Oh, I don't even know what's going on in my head. Because a lot of the times we keep bottling it up until we get to the point where We either take maybe drastic decisions or we pretty much explode. And that's not a good place to be. So you have to let out the steam sometimes. You have to let out the steam. And I think in my observation is more the fact that sometimes we don't even realize that we're playing a role or we're playing, we're a part in a play without realizing it. We have cast ourselves in a role that we didn't necessarily fully read the scripts. So yeah, it can be tough sometimes, but it still doesn't change the fact that those things will happen. It's natural. And it's almost, I'll say it would happen to almost everybody. Some people are lucky from maybe when they're young, they know what they want to do, maybe career wise, for example. So they might have that part of their lives figured out, but it doesn't mean that they still don't have other aspects of their lives that they're performing to a quote unquote a script or a role that is expected of them. So for example is maybe you're expected to get married at a certain age, have kids at a certain age, be successful at a certain age, and all those kind of things. And it might not necessarily happen the way you've been expected to. But you still have to make it seem like I'm okay. I'm all right. Yes, things might not have happened the way I want, but I'm okay. And in the situations that they do happen in that way, you might not have stopped to ask yourself, do I want this? So, for example, is I know maybe some people that got married straight after school, some might not have stopped to ask themselves, do I really want to get married immediately after school? Or do I want to explore life a little bit, career wise, personally, and whatnot? Because they've been told that's what they should do. So they go into it naturally and they're living that life. And don't get me wrong, some people are happy living that life, but some are just performing that role. They've either not stopped to ask themselves, is this what I want? Or they are too in to say, to ask themselves that question. So sometimes we're afraid to ask ourselves certain questions because we've invested so much and we're pretty much in too deep. So imagine like maybe I've been married for 15 years, I have kids. Is it at that point I also be asking myself, do I really want to be a wife and a mother? It's a bit too late for that. It's a bit too late for that. I already have that responsibility. But what I can ask myself is, how do I want to show up as a wife and a mother? Because I might have been playing a role before. Now I need to know, how do I want to show up? So I found myself in this situation. How do I want to show up as a wife and as a mother? I don't just want to perform a role. I want to genuinely sit to myself and say, am I raising my kids the way I want or the way I've been told to? Am I doing the things as a wife that I want because this is how I want my relationship to be, or I'm just being a wife because I've been told to? And in all that mix, who am I as an individual? Because the fact that you have the responsibility of being a wife and a mom doesn't change the fact that you're still an individual. And that's the part that you largely have a responsibility to work on, because when you're able to identify that part, it's easier for the others to follow. Because once you know the kind of person you are, it's easier to know that as a mother, I'm a kind, considerate mother. Yes, I'm strict with my kids because I want them to understand life lessons, etc., etc. But I'm a loving parent. I'm a this, I'm a this. I don't spoil my kids because everybody's doing the same thing. Maybe I don't even allow my kids to watch TV during the week, or they don't have personal tablets until a certain age. All those things, because there's an intention behind it. I'm not doing it because people say, don't let your children have this. So the question is why? Then I'm thinking, okay, if I give them tablets, can I restrict what websites or platforms they go to? Maybe. That's another option that another parent might not have thought about. So is the why behind it. Like, why am I doing this? What am I benefiting out of it? Does this align with who I am as an individual or who I'm trying to be? So I guess that's where the whole thinking of performative comes in. So that's just an example. It can be in different aspects, like I said. So sometimes we get overwhelmed because we've we've probably just inherited responsibility that we might not have necessarily wanted, or maybe not wanted at the time that it came, or we're not prepared for them. We're just told that was the next step of life. That's the next step of life. And then we just went with it. So, like I said, one thing I've realized lately is that overwhelm is not necessarily about workload. Sometimes it's about misalignments. Your goals are saying one thing, your habits are saying another. And your values are saying one thing, your lifestyle is saying another. Your mind wants peace, but your environment keeps creating chaos or noise. And eventually, all those disconnected parts creates internal confusion. So everything might seem perfect on the outside, but because it seems like you're not fully aligned internally, you'd always feel like you're overwhelmed. Sometimes even things that you did effortlessly before now start to feel like work. So with some people, let me continue maybe career-wise, that a job you've always done and maybe at some point you found pleasure and excitement from it. After a while, it starts to get boring. It's no longer exciting. It just seems like, oh God, this work is so much. Every day we just be in the office from this time to this time. I'll be doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this. You're getting overwhelmed, not necessarily because your workload has increased, but because you're probably not getting the same level of satisfaction from that job anymore or that particular role. So it might not even be the job itself or the company. It might just be that maybe you've outgrown that role, or maybe you need more challenges to keep things exciting and to keep you feeling like you're adding value. So there's certain factors, different factors that can contribute to you feeling overwhelmed at work. So it's just saying that sometimes the same things now seem like such a bother or seem like such a workload. Another thing is saying like you want to live a healthy life. I keep saying it and I use myself as an example. I want to live a healthy life. But my current habit, my current lifestyle is not aligned with that. So what do you think happens in my brain or in my mind? Every day that I don't do that thing, my brain will remind me. But you said we will start working out. Oh. But you said we'll be drinking more water. But you said we'll be eating better. But you said we'll be. That's a lot of mental overload. And sometimes that can be why you're feeling overwhelmed. You're not doing. So it's not even just that you have so much to do. It's that because you're not necessarily doing, your brain is reminding you, you're trying to dismiss it. So you feel like, mm, I heard one thing recently, and it's that I think I mentioned it maybe in my last episode or something. That remove the noise. And more often than not, the noise is what creates the misalignment. Because that thing you're not doing doesn't go away from your mind. Even if you put it at the back, you know the way you say, just put it at the back burner. Even if you do, it will still pop up from time to time to remind you like, hey, I'm here. Remember we said we're going to start doing this? Remember we said we're going to start doing this? So sometimes that can make it seem like overwhelm. And sometimes that can make you feel that whole feeling of being a fraud because you are not building self-trust. And in building self-trust, is only action that can build self-trust. There's no amount of talking to yourself or thinking or planning or evaluating. You only build self-trust genuinely by taking action. So you can do affirmations from now till tomorrow. But if you're not taking the steps little by little, you won't build self-trust because self-trust is basically reminding yourself that I am important. I do the things that I say I will do. Full stop. Full stop. That's it. So if that means sometimes I have to do it even when I'm not comfortable, if that means sometimes I have to do it even when I'm not in the mood, if that means sometimes I have to do it even if the conditions are not perfect, then yes, it becomes a non-negotiable because I've decided that this is what I need to do to achieve this particular goal. So if you say maybe I want to be making 5 million naira per month, you can't just be eating, sleeping, waking up and scrolling Instagram. And at the end of the month, 5 million will enter in your account. No. You have to have a plan and a strategy in place. How can I make 5 million a month? Do I need to, what skills do I have? What experience do I have? All those little things. If you already have something in place, how many products do I need to sell to make 5 million? That means maybe I need to post X number of times per week. Maybe I need to call X number of people per week. Maybe I need to. Is all those little steps that would ensure that even if you don't make the 5 million, you make as close to it as possible. And you've built self-trust because you did what you planned to do. That plan might not have worked, but your brain has acknowledged that We did what we set out to do. Now let's evaluate. Did what we set out to do work? That's another level. But we already passed level 1. Most of us stay in level 1, not planning. They don't meet the goal, so we don't have anything to review. What am I reviewing? If I had planned that I need to make 10 phone calls every week, for example, to tell people about my business, services I can provide, blah, 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 knowing fully well that those 10 people, maybe only one person will call me back. And that one person might not even call me back in that particular month. But I know that the more people I tell, the better I'm increasing my opportunities of people actually reaching out to me. Because sometimes it's not because the business is not out there. It's because maybe people don't even know that you do the business, or they don't know you are capable of providing a particular service. So when they think of that thing, they might not think of you. So if I say, oh, I want to call people 10, I want to call 10 people every week. And at the end of the month, that means I should have called 40 people minimum. At the end of the month, maybe I didn't even call 5. How do I know if that 40 worked or not? I don't know, because I can't review. I can't review. There's nothing to review. But at least if I tried 30, out of 30, I got 2. I have data immediately. Because now I know that, okay, if out of 32, what's that ratio? That means maybe next month, if I want to get 4, I need to now increase. It's like that. I sold 5 products, but to sell those 5 products, I called 20 people. Only 5 people responded to me. So next month, if I want to sell 10, maybe I should call 40. It gives your brain something to do, and it gives you a more confident mindset because you feel now like, okay, I have data. Now I'm trying to replicate what worked for me the last time and see if I can use that to increase my efforts. So it might not even be the quantity of people. It might be what I said to those particular 5 that made them buy. So I'm now thinking, okay, maybe this particular 5, I actually called them instead of just sending a message. So I'm thinking next month, instead of sending message to 20 people, let me at least try and call 15 of those 20 and see if I can convert. Because I had data, I had something else to apply in the next month and the next month and the next month. So us being performative is pretty much sometimes can be just repeating each day, same old same, without necessarily stopping to ask what else or how else can I do it differently. So we are just playing a role. I resume to work every day, I close every day. You go office, I go office. If they ask you, say, what thing you achieve, you know, if you talk, I do the usual now. Bam. But you don't know how maybe that your job is contributing to the overall business model or how your role is contributing to the company financially. So how do you even negotiate for a raise or a promotion or a bonus? But if you can say categorically, say, sir, that presentation that I did XYZ, it automatically increased this our client's revenue from 5 naira to 10 naira to. So I think that's maybe me if I deserve some bonus. Employers don't like people like that. But those are the people that are actually thinking. So that's you not even owning your business, but realizing that I play a role in this organization. Whether you are the security man or the MD CEO, because if the security man is rude, it can spoil the experience for the clients. So that security man also contributes to the entire image of the company. So everything matters. It just depends on if you're asking yourself why you're doing what you're doing and if that's what you want to be doing, to be honest. So I feel like the last 2 weeks have sort of been leading me here in the sense that, of course, as usual, it's by wonder moments, just wondering and analyzing. But I've realized that it's more those little steps. You can't run away from it. And I think I've been saying that in the last 3 weeks, even as much as I'm running from it, but you can't run away from it. And the beauty about it is it doesn't have to be big changes. And I think that's where sometimes we scare ourselves or we allow fear to enter because we keep thinking, oh, from this version of Tokwe to that version of Tokwe that I'm trying to get to. Is so many things I have to change. It's so many things I need to stop doing. It's so many things I need to start doing. It's so many. Start with one, little by little. If you want to be the kind of person that works out every day of the week, you don't start with every day of the week. Start with twice a week. Just get used to even physically working out. Or even start with, right, I heard there was this concept of just sitting down and thinking about, so wake up every morning, wear your gym clothes. Don't work out, just sit down in it and get your brain used to the fact that this is an action we perform. We wake up in the morning, wear our gym clothes, sit down for maybe the next 30 minutes in your gym clothes. It sounds mad, but hey, some people say it works. But just say that it's little steps, because those little steps help you build trust in yourself, help you remind yourself that you're that person that does. And the biggest part is no excuse is big enough. No excuse is important enough. Because at the end of the day, your brain will always give you reasons to stay comfortable. Your brain will always tell you, I beg, I beg, I beg. We're okay. We have a good job. We're doing all right. Can pay our bills, taking care of our family. I beg, I beg, I beg. Don't go and start that business. So. But somewhere deep down inside of you, you feel like, I've been thinking about doing this thing. He's writing a book. Maybe he's learning a new skill, whatever it is. But because you feel like, what will people say sometimes? And that's why sometimes we stay in that performative role, because we're afraid of what people will say. A doctor telling you, look, I want to quit medicine. I want to be a musician. That's what I've always wanted to do. People will say, it's like, this one is mad. But that's what his heart is telling him. I'm not saying you should quit your medicine and become a musician without having a plan B, or just ease yourself into it. But just say, but if you feel like this is not what I want, or I've outgrown this, then yeah, no experience is wasted. No experience whatsoever. Even when it seems like your next phase does not necessarily connect with the last one, you'll be amazed. Just keep going. You see how all those dots connect. I never thought I would see how coaching, thought leader, public speaker and all those things would have connected to like my marketing or creative side. But I'm realizing more and more that everything sort of connects, because part of the reason why I'm great at marketing is because I have a creative mind. I'm not just analytical in my thinking. I'm creative in my thinking as well. So, and that creativity is not just in terms of content production kind of creativity, is also in terms of adaptability. So you're creative enough to say, okay, this is not working. What else can we try? What else can we? Some people get stuck in this not working instead of thinking, what else? So that what else might not be conventional, but it's still an option. And your brain goes there because you've taught your brain to think in different aspects, even if it doesn't make sense initially. Sometimes it's the most random thoughts that now are the big idea. That's why they say there's no such thing as a stupid idea. It just depends on how much thought or work you put into that idea. So the randomest thing can be the next big invention. The fact that it hasn't been done doesn't mean it's impossible. So yeah, we ask ourselves those questions. I don't digress again, but back to the matter. Open that close. Um, So I think a lot of it is I'll follow the script, but I they talk am as they go. So I think many people are performing versions of adulthood that they no longer connect with internally. And that's why I say sometimes it's that you've outgrown a phase or a part of your life. It's not that it was bad for you or it was wrong. Sometimes it's just that I've outgrown this, so I've gotten to the limits of whatever it is that I want to achieve here. It's the way you say sometimes you outgrow certain friends or certain people serve their purposes in your life and you probably never see them again. Same thing. There's certain things you do and that's the end of it. That's the most you're supposed to do. So some people would say, oh, let's say, for example, I'm working in an organization, the highest possible level is maybe the CEO level. I might not get to CEO level. Maybe I get to director level, but that's the highest possible I can get to in that particular organization. There are opportunities for me to be CEO in other companies. Will I say I will now die in this one when I already know that this CEO, maybe not that it's impossible, it might just take longer. So let's say in this particular organization, from director to CEO can take you 5 years, for example. But another place is telling you that, look, at your level, we're willing to offer you CEO where we are, because based on your responsibilities, experience, blah, 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 we think you would fit a CEO role. If you now stay there, you will try. And if you owe yourself that, at least try. So it is not necessarily because the organization is bad or you didn't like the job or you didn't like the role. It just means that for you to grow into that next level, you might need to leave the organization. So your tenure there might be over. So same thing with that version or that life, you've outgrown it and you need to step up and move to the next role. So like I said, maintaining appearances, maintaining expectations, maintaining identities that may not even fit anymore. And honestly, I think that's one of the reasons many people feel emotionally tired all of the time. So imagine someone who's a mom and her kids are now grown old enough that, let's say they're in university. She went from, her routine will change because maybe she went from doing school runs every day to now having idle time. What am I going to do now with this time? When she was doing the school run, she didn't stop to ask, do I need to do this? It was a case of this needed to be done. She just went ahead and did it. Now she has that free time. She can now afford to ask herself, what can I be doing with this time? School runs is over. You feel empty, you feel naked, you feel like, what's going on? That's when they say the empty nester syndrome. Because some people, even just the fact that the house is quiet, is strange. They're not cleaning up after any children. They're not shouting at anybody. They're not cooking for the whole family. So it's like strange, you know? So a lot of people, when they find themselves in these situations, they sometimes now have to start asking themselves, who am I? For the first time in a long time. Because maybe they didn't necessarily have that luxury before when they were trying to keep a home together, raise children, and all those kind of stuff. Some people don't necessarily have that luxury to be asking, who am I? What do I want to do? What do I want to be? Or they never even just thought about it. So yeah, no, so the period where they were raising kids and whatever wasn't bad, wasn't negative. That's just what needed to happen at that time. Now they're in a phase where they can afford to now ask themselves, what else do I want to do? Now that I don't have children to rely on to occupy my time, what else do I want to do? Some relationships fall apart because a lot of their conversations revolved around the kids. So when the kids are no longer in the house, they're like strangers. And that's when they realize that they never really worked on their relationship. They just went with the flow. And that's the performance part. Daddy provides the money, mommy takes care of the house. Rule definition. Without asking, am I a good home keeper? Or is my husband better at it? Sometimes you don't know. There are some guys that are better cooks than their wives. I saw one video, I think it was over the weekend, and one guy said, oh, they say get married, your wife will be cooking for you every day. And they showed him, he was the one in the kitchen cooking, and his wife was there gisting with him. And people were like, I beg, do you? And that's the reality. So yes, in his mind, he had been told when you get married as a man, your wife will cook for you. But then maybe his wife doesn't like to cook. Or maybe she doesn't even know how to cook. She's not interested in cook. And he's like, oh, instead of us fighting about this, I genuinely enjoy cooking. Don't worry about it. I'll be cooking. Someone might come to the house and say, why are you the one cooking for your family? Oga, this is what works for us. That only happened because they were able to have a conversation about it. And they were able to be honest with themselves. Look, you like cook, no problem. So people will say, look, I like mopping, oh, but see that washing of clothes and ironing, I don't know how to do this. But say to mop and dust the whole house, I can do that every day. Do it. That works for you. Since you don't like washing and iron, don't worry, me, I'll be doing the loaded washing machine and iron. Or if both of us don't like it, we'll find somebody that will be ironing for us. You make life easier for yourselves, but that only happens if you ask yourselves questions, not just perform what you think you should do. Because sometimes resentment builds because you don't speak up. And sometimes you suffer in silence because the truth is, if you had spoken up, you would have realized that you could have found a solution a long time ago. I remember a long time ago, one of my ex was telling me he traveled out of the country, went for a meeting with Oimbo people. So they felt like, since it's coming, he was the one that was sort of hosting the meeting. So he said, these people are Weibo people on AC to the max. They are used to cold, all those kind of things. No, the Oimbos came, sorry, I mixed it up. The Oimbos came to Nigeria. So put on the AC to the max. Say, me, I will test the cold. Let my visitors be comfortable. See, they had gone like 20, 30 minutes into the meeting. He was shivering inside, but was just chesting. He say, as long as my guests are comfortable. And one of them had to say, sorry, please, can we turn this AC down? Like, it's freezing in here. He say, I thought that's what you people are used to. That's why I agree that we, the Nigerians, we don't die. All of them wore suits, coats, just to, you know, beef up themselves. But the people that they thought they were making comfortable were also uncomfortable. So imagine all of them for 30 minutes being uncomfortable. Nobody was enjoying the coldness of that room. But one party thought they were pleasing the other, and vice versa. So the Oyimbos also felt, okay, maybe because their country is hot, these are the blast the AC. Let's not seem rude. Let's not seem impolite. So they were testing it until the point that one person had to speak up, say, shh. So imagine if in the first 2 minutes, as they entered, they were like, sorry, this place is a bit cold. Can we turn it down? Everybody would have had a fantastic first 30 minutes. But that first 30 minutes, everybody was just uncomfortable and forming, yeah. When their mind, they say, this drinking tea and coffee that they had no business drinking up and down just to keep warm. That's all you can imagine. And this happens a lot in life. Because we don't want to ruffle feathers, because we don't want people to have maybe a different impression of us, we just go with the flow. They say make I do, you just go with that. Ask me, okay, yeah, I get that they say make I do, but can I do it maybe in a different way, a slightly different way? Okay, yeah. You say I should wash my face twice a day. Does it have to be at a particular time or just anytime in the morning and anytime before I sleep? Fantastic. Except you tell me it must be 8 a.m. every day and 8 p.m. every day. That's different. But if I didn't ask, I might have stuck to that and it won't have worked for me. But if I ask and just say, wait, sorry, must it be at a particular time? Or can I take it just within yeah, as long as maybe first thing before you, first thing when you wake up and last thing at night. Case soft. Shikina. So sometimes we're performing and the people we're performing for, I would almost say, not that they don't see it, but we could have made life easier for ourselves. So while we perform, people don't know that we're not okay because they're going off of that image that we have put to the front. We're going off of the fact that we look like we're comfortable or that we're okay. So over the last few weeks, I've had to ask myself some more uncomfortable questions and keep uncomfortably myself, but it's part of it. So this current life, does it support the future I want? And I think that was the premise of a few episodes ago that I had. Are my daily habits aligned with the kind of life I'm trying to build? Am I creating more synergy or more internal conflict? And I realized that awareness alone is not enough. So that internal structure matters too. So this might seem repetitive, like I said it before, but the truth is, it's a full on mindset shift. So I have to repeat it more than once to myself in different ways because it needs to settle as the new normal. It's not that we'll try it and fail. We don't have the luxury to try and fail anymore. So we have to think of it from different aspects and accept it fully and wholesomely. It's like when you get to know someone and you accept them the way they are, good, bad, and the ugly. If you don't know, if they're only showing you certain parts, you would accept them for just the certain parts that they're showing you. But when they show you everything about them, even the things that maybe they don't like or they're not necessarily proud of. It's easier for you to say, okay, can I work with this? Can I compromise on this? Or is there something we can do? Yeah. Then it is not, you don't feel deceived. It's the same thing with your mind. You give it the different ways to see that particular new awareness or new thought, so that when you finally start taking action, it stays or you're able to sustain it because it's no longer something that is forced. And that's where the whole identity comes, and synergy and alignment. Because once you've determined why you're doing what you're doing, why you're changing habits, your lifestyle, certain things, why you're shifting things around, it's no longer they said I should do it. It's more a case of this is what I said I want to do. At that point, you're in control. And if you're being true to yourself, you're starting to take charge of your own life. And that's where that whole confidence, self trust starts to build. It's like compound interest. You're stacking it. So the more you do, the more you build that trust in yourself, the more you build that confidence of your abilities, of your capacities. Because if I want to run a 10K marathon, I won't just show up on the day of the marathon and say, let me start running. Like, who the hell do you think you are? I don't care if you like, you should have slept in church, you prayed and fast for the last 1 month. If you do not train for that marathon, you would not succeed. So if you want to run a marathon, you would have started training since. So that on the day of the marathon, you don't have to be the first one or two. Your own is that I shall want to finish this 10K. That's a personal goal to yourself. You're not running because you want to win the prize money, but you are running because you want to pat yourself on the back like, I did something. Because those things require a plan. It requires working towards a goal. That's why a lot of the times when people are trying to change habits, it's easier for them to look at health-wise. Because more often than not, the ripple effect follows. If I'm able to stay consistent enough to train for a marathon, without realizing the other aspects of my life, I'll start to adjust it. Because for me to train for a marathon, that means I'm running every day. I'm working out every day in some capacity or the other. So I might not be running only, but I'm doing different activities because I need to increase my stamina, my endurance, my, what do you call it, fitness levels, all those things. So I'm doing that consistently over a period. Naturally, other things would follow. Other things would follow. I have to start eating right because now I'm working out. I'll get hungrier. So whether I like it or not, I have to start eating. From the start eating now, I start planning, I've eaten rice 3 times this week. No, maybe let me now. Before I know it, I'll sit down and just say, let me just do a meal plan. Let me just know what I'm eating for the week. Let me just, and you start to fit those things in little by little. But it usually starts with one. And that's why I said you don't have to do everything at the same time. Just pick one thing and stick with it for a period. Just one thing. And then add on, and then add on, and then add on, and then add on. And before you realize it, you have become that person that you never thought you could be. You have become that person that seemed like such a big deal. And you look at it and say, oh, wow, I am the big deal. Imagine finishing that 10K marathon. You're like, man, 3 months ago, I couldn't have tried this. So ordinary climbing stairs and panting. Just carrying load from my car to the house and panting. Then I did a 10K marathon. You part, see, nobody needs to tell you well done. By yourself, for the next few weeks, you'll be feeling on top of the moon like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, that was me. If you're a posting person, you probably posted pictures of you at the marathon, at the finish line, I did this, I did that, I did whatever. Maybe even your what they call it, stats. But the reality is, even without the outside validation, internally, your whole system, your whole being would would feel excited, like we achieved a goal. We worked towards something and we achieved it. It's a beautiful feeling. It's an enriching feeling. It's something that makes you feel like, what next? That's the feeling of I can conquer the world. It's a high. It's like a huge dopamine rush that you can't even explain. So sometimes, yes, a 10K marathon might be a big deal, but it can even be the little things. Every day I wash my plates once I finish eating. As simple as that. So at night, when you're going to bed, you look at your kitchen, everywhere is clean. Say, yeah, I did it today. Tomorrow, yeah, I did it. Next tomorrow, until it now becomes a habit, until it becomes a pattern. And that's why I spoke about it in a couple of episodes ago. I said, discipline is not your enemy, it's your friend. It's just what helps you cross the bridge when you're trying to start a new habit or when you're trying to develop a new habit or skill or whatever it is. Discipline is that friend that rides with you until you get to the point where it's like a no-brainer. It becomes normal, it becomes part of your routine. So you have to embrace it. So all these different things, concepts, ideologies, I'm embracing it. My mind is questioning it sometimes. So that's why sometimes it might seem like it's repetitive, but it really isn't. It's just my brain trying to, you know, the way they say you're trying to throw up all your queries. And I'd rather my brain throws up all the queries now while I'm wondering and figuring out than when I start. And then I'm asking, are you sure? Are we sure? No, 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 no. By the time we start, we're sure. And for us to start, we have to be sure. So my brain is trying to find all the loopholes, as many loopholes as possible. But it still keeps coming back to the same conclusions. And I think is when you get to that phase, you realize there's no running away from this thing. So yes, adulthood is hard, but choose your hard, as they say. I'm realizing that my hard now is not, I don't have money. That's not the kind of hard I want. I want the kind of hard that what's the next thing I want to conquer? What's the next barrier I want to break? What's the new thing I want to do? I want to try out. Let that be the hard. Let that be the tough periods that I have in my life. Not repeating the same things of should we not, kind of hard. No, it's tiring. And I can't lie, I've been there for a long time. So yeah, I'm tired. I don't know about other people. I'm tired. So yeah, like I said, it's not even the, let me go back to my script. I don't forget. So going back to it, and I think one of the first things that we need to ask ourselves is, am I building a life that genuinely fits me or a life that simply looks acceptable externally? That's the practical part. Let's get practical. This thinking is beautiful. It's nice. It makes you sound intelligent, as if you have sense. But start doing. So me, I've said, I said it's 2026. I need to be a different version. I want to look back at the end of 2026 and say, yeah, man, bitch, you did it. I might not have reached the final end goal, but I want to be able to say, yes, I made a few steps forward in my life by pushing myself outside my comfort zone. And that would require sometimes those uncomfortable questions and sometimes those reflections. So the thinking parts you can't take away from this journey. But you also can't take away the action because you can think from now to tomorrow. If you don't put things into place and action it, you are just a beautiful thinker. And we know people like that. They talk a good game, but they don't do it. I used to be one of them. If you sit me down, I'm a fantastic consultant. I can tell you what's wrong, where's wrong, how to do it. Tell me to apply it to my life. I'm like, eh. So this journey is about me applying it to my life. If people are seeing all this my real time everything. So, like I said, by the time you see that version, you can't say, who is this Tope? You will know exactly who this Tope is. That's it. So, a lot of overwhelm comes from carrying goals, timelines, expectations that don't even truly belong to us anymore. And I think adulthood requires more honesty than performance. You have to know what actually matters to you. And that's why I said you have to ask yourself questions and you have to review your life. So, what has worked up till now is not bad, but is this what's going to continue? No, it's just being honest with yourself. Even if you can't talk about it with other people, at least start with yourself. If you don't understand it, how do you now want to explain it to somebody else? So, start with yourself. Now, the more disconnected your life becomes internally, the heavier everything starts feeling external. I'm beginning to realize that peace comes from synergy. When your habits align with your goals. I've said this before. When your habits align with your goals. When your environment supports your goals. When your relationship supports your emotional well being. When your lifestyle reflects your actual values. That's where overwhelm starts reducing naturally. Let me give you an example. So let's say I envision myself as being, for example, president of Nigeria. It's a dream, a wish, a goal, or a fantasy. What separates it from being a fantasy, a goal, or a wish is the actions that I take, the kind of life that I live, the kind of person that I'm being. So let's forget about the comedy in our own kind of policy. But let's say if people were being elected based on their values, what they stand for, and those kind of stuff, there's certain options that are not in your buckets automatically. Yes, it might seem like it's performative, but the reality is, if I want to elect a leader, I want to elect somebody that I can trust. I want to elect somebody that is dependable. If your lifestyle does not reflect that, how are people supposed to have faith in you? You don't get to a place and say, trust me. They will ask that, what has he done to make us feel like we can trust him? It's like going for a job interview and saying, I can do the work. They're like, okay, give us your CV. Where else have you worked? What experience do you have? What skills do you have? I said, don't worry. I said, Shebi, is it not just to do? I can do it. They're like, yeah, we know that you said you can do it, but you have to show us something for us to believe that you can do it. So if your life does not reflect that, how do I give you the job? If you don't have the experience or the necessary qualifications, how do I give you the job? So if your lifestyle is not reflecting your values, how do people know that you are who you say you are? How do you even know that you are who you say you are? You can't say one of your important values is integrity, but then you do small fraud on the side just to make ends meet. God no go best. God, please forgive me. You know that just make family chop. It's not aligning. So in the performing, it's because we're trying so hard to be one thing and maybe do something different from what we're trying to be. I'm trying to be the kind of person that people do this to, people respect, people this, people that. But then I'm constantly putting myself in situations that I'm being disrespected. Who's going to remove me from those situations? Is it not me? So that misalignment creates confusion. I want to be in a relationship where my partner respects me, where my voice is heard, where my opinion is important. But then I'm dating guys that all they can do is give me money, or all they want is to give me money, take care of me, but then na femme la bouche. You just look pretty and sit down beside me. Not talk. Oh. I might be enjoying the money, but do you think I'll be happy inside? I wouldn't, because I'm not being in a position where I can express my opinions, my thoughts, my feelings. So sometimes the confusion now comes. So on one hand, you're saying, hey, but this is what I prayed for. I was asking for man that will give me money. But then the other part is now not following. So the misalignments. And I think that's the biggest part, because you are responsible for everything. Your choices, your actions, they're your responsibility. So if there's any misalignment in your life, it's for you to examine what parts of my lives are not connecting, what parts are clashing the most. I say I'm a woman of substance, but then I dey do runs for side. Come on, how do I want a substance in that situation? So some things you might have to stop, some things you might have to start, some things might have to adjust or relook at. So certain things might have served you up until this point, but the next level might require a different set of tools, either skill sets, mindsets, emotional well-being, all those kind of things. So you have to start to ask yourself, what do I need to change? Or what needs to shift? so that this other side can start to come out. So I don't think transformation always starts dramatically. Sometimes it starts quietly, a new boundary, a new routine, a more honest conversation with yourself, a decision to stop pretending certain things are still working when they're not. I need to repeat that one. A decision to stop pretending that certain things are still working when they are not. Certain things, certain habits might have kept you sane up until now, but it's time to let go of them. Those habits, good or bad, but they sustained you. Now it's time to change it. So your body will fight it. But it starts with you being honest with yourself. This habit, can I sustain this? It's like saying that I want to run 10K marathon, but I'm a heavy smoker. I would have to ask myself, this smoking, will it help me win this marathon? No. So what does that mean? It means I will probably need to stop smoking. Even if it's just for the period when I'm training for the marathon. Or that might now become a habit I drop completely. But the habit might not have started from I want to stop smoking. The habit might have started from I want to run 10K marathon. So the stop smoking now becomes a result of me trying to achieve the 10K marathon. And that's why I said there's always a ripple effect. It starts with one thing, but that one thing sort of just ripples into others. But you have to ask yourself those questions. This habit, is it saving me? Is it serving me? Might have served me up until now, but is it serving me going forward? So maybe I get agitated, for example, or some people, they say they're hyper. So because of that, they drink alcohol to sort of bring them down or whatever, just giving an example, or use certain medication to calm them down. That might have worked for a bit, but the side effect of that medication is maybe you are drowsy half of the time. And then you're trying to do certain things. So you're asking yourself, if I'm drowsy half of my day, how am I going to get all these things done? So do I need to now relook at this medication because it's been 10 years? Maybe there are other alternatives out there that I've not even explored that might not make me drowsy. So yes, I might still need to use some form of medication, but the question now becomes, there might be other options out there that allow me to still achieve the things that I want to achieve. So I need to ask those questions. I need to do some research. I need to talk to certain experts. Small tweaks and adjustments. So that's why I said it's not always dramatic. It's just little things. But those little things, they sort of compound and they add on. So me, I'm trying to find my little things. I'm not saying I'm trying to find. I know it's, but yeah. So it's just saying that all this talking to, thinking about, is me just reminding myself that we can't run away from this action. We can't run away from the doing. We can't run away from the consistency. We can't run away from the uncomfortableness that we might feel initially because it's different and it's change. And change in one way or the other feels strange at first. Change is always an adjustment. Even intentional change is an adjustment. It's like you plan to marry from the minute of engagement. Maybe you had a 1 year engagement safe. You always knew that we are getting married on so date. People were planning the wedding, doing everything. But until you enter that marriage, before you now know what, there's an adjustment phase in as much as you have prepared yourself to be married, to be a husband or to be a wife. But there's still that adjustment that needs to happen. So it's the adjustment period. That's when you just start doing something different. So get used to it. That's all me I'm trying to do to myself. Getting my brain used to find that adjustment period cannot run again. It cannot run again. That's the reality. So it might seem strange, it might seem uncomfortable, but stay with it. So I'm loading that and stacking that in my brain. We're going to stay with it when we start. We're going to stay with it when we start. That's the non-negotiable because it becomes a, what are we trying to do really? Once we are clear on the what are we trying to do, we're going to stay with it because we can't achieve the goal if we don't stay with it. So yeah. So I think honestly, this pressure affects both men and women. Sometimes, I would even say sometimes maybe more for men. In certain regards, the pressure to appear successful, pressure to seem certain about mm, your life, the pressure to keep functioning regardless of what's happening around you emotionally, no matter what else is happening, whether it's outside of you or even internally. So it's like sometimes you're not feeling too great, but because you have certain commitments, you have to show up. You don't get there and start to anybody, and I'm not feeling fine, oh, but I just say I shall have to come. Oh. It takes away from the power. But you know that today I could have called in and said, guys, can we reschedule? But when I thought about it, I'm like, no, you know what? There's a lot at stake. I need to show up. It's not for them, it's for you. Because you reminded yourself that even though we're not feeling too great, what we can now do is maybe typically, let's say I have an event. I'll spend 5 hours at the event. But now I'll say, you know what, I'll give myself maybe 1.5 hours. But I'll show up so that I can go back home to go and rest. So one or two people might know that she wasn't feeling too well, but she still, because it was important or because she was, yeah, that's for you. It's not for them. But it's no longer performative because you've thought about it and you chose what it is that you wanted to do in that moment, regardless of what was happening. It's different from you feeling like you're bound to doing something, even when you don't understand why. It's the way, let me give you an example. So it's the way sometimes my mom might tell me about, oh, there's this family event or there's this. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't even know this person. Like if I'm not at that event, this person is not going to notice or miss me. But because it's my mom, she will emotionally blackmail you to go. Sometimes I will go. Sometimes like, well, mommy, please, I beg. Or I'll just wait on the day and don't knock out one story. But the reality is, sometimes, or maybe once upon a time, I might not have questioned why. It's just a case of, okay, we are going. Maybe I was younger, we'll wear cloth and go. But now as you get older, I can say, do I really have to go for that party? Ah, no need. I'll just send something, please. Tell them that I was not around, so I'm busy. And just send a gift or something on my behalf. Just please. I don't even know how I reached there. But like I said, it's basically just finding that realignment and synergy in your life. And I think a lot of what my May has been is that for me. So outside of all this, oh, I'm also trying to put those structures in place behind the scenes. And it's intentional because I know that I can't put the structures and just kick off and just start because that's what I've always done. And it hasn't worked for me. And that's where data comes in. Look at what you've done before. Did it work? Did it not work? It hasn't always worked. So I don't want to go with motivation alone. I don't want to go with ginger. I want to go in shining my eye. I want to go in practically and I want to go in a different way. So if I've seen that this other way didn't work, which is the method of we're gingered, we're excited, we're going to start doing this. Go and pay for gym, go and do this, go and do that. I've seen that that doesn't work for me because I once motivation goes down, I'm not able to sustain that thing. But now, because I'm thinking more and more about how do I put those structures in place, I'm finding ways to ensure that I have a routine that is sustainable. Now, do I have to work my way into that routine? Definitely. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'm not going to automatically start working out 7 days a week. That's why there's structures. The goal is to work out 7 days a week, for example. Where do we start from? Once a week? Twice a week? What do we want to be doing? Dancing? Swimming? Jogging? Skipping? Taekwondo class, karate class, whatever it is. Figuring those things out help you ensure it's an easier process. So even when it feels uncomfortable, because you've thought through it to a large extent, I don't spend too much time thinking. That's where sometimes we get sucked in. We're over planning. No, 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 no. I might not have figured out all 5 things I need to do, but if I figured one out, let me start with that one. If I figured two out, let's start with those two. We will be figuring the rest out later. And that's another thing that I learned about myself because I want to have the full picture before I start. That rarely happens. But because now I know that I would never always have the full picture. So start with what you have. Start with what you have and then take it one step at a time and keep working on it. So I'm genuinely excited. Let's see. Let's see what the future. Let me go to the closing scripts. Maybe I write. Since I'm intellectual, some movie. So maybe adulthood was never supposed to be about performing perfection. See my tautology. Maybe it's supposed to be about becoming more honest, more intentional, and more aligned over time. I would always keep using this word alignment and synergy. For me, those are the biggest discoveries in this entire journey for me. And honestly, I think many of us are exhausted, not because we're failing, but because we're trying to maintain versions of ourselves that no longer fits who we're becoming. So maybe the real work now is creating the life that feels more connected internally than impressive externally. So, what aligns with you as a person? Not what do people expect of. So, yeah, before I bounce off, let me clarify that because some people will say, I always say, I'll give you an example. You are a corrupt politician, for example. Your family is benefiting from it, friends are benefiting, everybody's benefiting from it. You are doing well. But in your soul and your spirit, you are not happy because it doesn't align with who you're trying to be. You're trying to be this upright person. You're trying to be this, you're trying to be that. So maybe circumstances, you found yourself in this situation. Life happens. But externally, you're doing very well. When you say, I now want to change, I now want to start doing things by the book, a lot of people are not going to be happy. So all that internal shift and alignment, not everybody's going to be happy with it. Sometimes it means that certain people can no longer get away with stuff around you. Sometimes it means that certain people can no longer demand certain things from you as a person, financially, emotionally, mentally, whatever it may be. But because you are now becoming more honest with yourself and you're becoming more aligned with who you are, you automatically start putting boundaries in place. You start putting principles in place. You start ensuring that your values stay. There was this post, if I was this morning, I saw it. So it's this podcast where they talk about relationships and co. So this lady came and asked, she said, oh, she has a friend, a very good friend is dating a guy. Oh, this guy is such a wonderful guy, blah, blah, blah. But her friend is cheating on the guy. And so she was wondering that should I talk to her about it or should I just ignore? So of course, people had different comments. Some people said, maybe she likes her friend's man because the way she's saying he is such a good guy, women would die to be with him, blah, blah, blah. But that aside, it was a value problem. So she was not comfortable, even though she was not the one cheating, she wasn't comfortable with the fact that her friend was cheating because that almost felt like a reflection on her. This could have been a childhood friend. But the fact that this person is doing something that goes against what I believe in is causing me so much headache. So you see why I said sometimes it's not even you alone. It's the people that you surround yourself with or the environments that you're in. This was causing a lot of misalignment in her head. So imagine how long she had been thinking about it for her to now come on a public forum to ask that question. Because in her mind is like, should I talk to her about it or should I just pretend like, but for her, it didn't go with her. In those situations, yeah, maybe you need to have a conversation about it. Or maybe it's time to just take a few steps back from that person. Because you might not be the one not aligned with your life. But if you're surrounded by people that are doing stuff that don't align with your values, it becomes disconnecting. Because almost like, but we said that we're like this. Why are you now with all these people? We said we don't drink anymore. Why are we now always with people that are drinking alcohol? We say we don't smoke again, but we are going to shrine every day. How? So you might have stopped certain things, but you've not changed your environment, or you've not even adjusted the people you surround yourself with. It makes it harder for you to stay in that new place because you're still trying to use that old operating manual. You're still trying to hang around the same people. But you have to change them sometimes. You have to, it's a lot of changes But eventually, the whole point is to find a sense of calm and peace within yourself. And that will make you feel much more better. Ha! So, I think with these few words of mine, I've been able to convince you and not confuse you. Alignment and synergy is the key. But on a real note, I'm grateful for those of you that followed me on this journey so far. Once again, please like, subscribe, comment, share, and let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Is it making sense? Are you in this phase? Or you've not even got into this phase, or you've passed this phase? Let's talk about it. I'm always open to hearing other people's opinions, respectfully, of course. But yeah, thank you guys. It's been wonderful as usual. As you can see, Baraka de Salah once again. I'm going to chop plenty of ram and have a good time. Love you guys. See you on the next episode. Mwah. Bye.